It's the Ryan Raventhal Show. With weekly special guests, up-to-date music news, and a special report from Area 51. It's Ryan Raventhal.
Hey everyone. Hey, it's Ryan back here. It's time for another podcast after it's been, it seems like a few week absence. So anyways, tonight's podcast is quite exciting. I've been waiting to have this guy on for a while, and it's Ray Earls, Captain Ray from Green Jellÿ, Green Jellÿ if you prefer. And yeah, we're going to talk to him about his musical experiences with Green Jellÿ and outside of Green Jellÿ, and even his experience as a pilot. So yeah, so we're just going to get him in the room here and just get going. All right, let's see here. Alrighty then. Okay, here. Welcome to the podcast, Captain Ray. How you making out there in California? Crazy time.
Not too bad. Actually, I think tonight we're going to be getting some of that Canadian weather over here. It's supposed to get pretty cold. We're actually going to get clouds and, believe it or not, some rain. They even said snow. So
yeah, we've been getting
that's pretty wild. Like for Southern California right now, everybody's freaking out over that shit because it's usually a sunny day here. All 4 seasons, same weather pretty much. So yeah,
it's been pretty much snowing here off and on. A couple of big snowstorms, which we're used to here. So always lots of snow here. But this is what you can't even really predict the weather here, because like you could say one thing and then do something completely different.
Yeah,
we're right in the I don't know what to call that, a polar vortex, but we're in something right here where the jet stream, I guess it's kind of, we get a good mix.
The weather gets kind of unpredictable.
Yeah, in the winter you never know what's going to happen. Like last year we had pretty much a dry winter and maybe 2 snowstorms, and now we've got more than that already. So who knows what we're in for.
So it's kind of like great weather, and then all of a sudden it just like kind of goes the shit out of the blue. And
yeah, it could be like summer one time in the winter, and then drop down to well below zero. And
kind of sounds like my wife a little bit once in a while. Oh, I hope she don't watch this later.
Yes, go back there. First off, before we get into the Green Jellÿ stuff too, how did you first get into music and playing guitar?
Well, I guess I'm what you call like a multi-instrumentalist. So I play all sorts of different instruments. Very first, originally, like when I was a little kid, I had like this fascination with drums, and I don't know, I was about like 4 years old, and obviously living with my parents at that time. So I actually grew up around a lot of like Christian 80s metal. So if you're bands like Striper, Bloodgood, local band that was called Holy Right and Iron Wrath, just like the 80s glam metal. And so I kind of wanted to start playing drums, and my parents bought me this, I don't know if you remember this, your age or whatever, how old you are, but there was this one cool toy back in the day called a Fraggle Rock drum set. And I don't know if you ever heard of Fraggle Rock, if that's out there, Canada. Oh, yeah. But so they bought me that drum set, and like 3 days later, it was in the trash. I mean, I busted through the skins, I busted a cymbal, I just beat the hell out of it. I still remember that set. And so I don't know, like a month goes down, and like my dad finally gets like an actual real drum set. And I pretty much just self-taught myself to play drums as a little kid. And, with kids, and even still as me as an adult now, our attention starts going in different ways. And I just kind of quit playing for a while. And then probably I was like about 12 or 13 years old. And I was watching MTV back when it was actually really MTV. And I see this music video come up of these guys wearing like leather and spikes and this like black makeup white makeup on their face, and this bass player's like licking his tongue out and spitting blood. And I was just like, it was like the most amazing thing I ever saw. I was like, wow, it was just badass, you know? And at that age, like I was kind of a little bit forbidden of what music I would listen to. But I loved it. And when I saw that, it's like, I want to do that. So, bugging parents and all of that, and, you know, just doing whatever I could. And finally, you know, my dad actually made a deal, and I got an electric guitar, a keyboard, and I had a bass. And I just started figuring out how to play it. I had no lessons or anything, and I just start putting my fingers different places on the fretboard, and eventually I just started figuring out how to play. And for me, especially at that age, because like early teens, you're kind of, you know, all over the place. So it was like a big outlet of all that anger, depression, and everything I had that I went through like when I was younger. And it was just a great outlet. And for me, like, I was definitely not a ladies' man. You know, I always tried to ask the girls out, and you
Yeah.
know that never happened. So it's like, what better way to get the chicks than a guitar? But I just took a real passion and caught on really quick to playing, and I just started doing that. And to be honest, for most of it, I just sat in the bedroom and played with myself. Not like this, but you know, the guitar. And
And no, I
so
totally get you. I totally get you. Yeah, I remember that Fraggle Rock very well. It used to be a staple in my Sunday nights. It used to be the Wonderful World of Disney, then Fraggle Rock, and then a
yeah,
Canadian show up here called Beachcombers every Sunday night in the 80s. Because I'm 42, so that's 80s.
okay,
It's my whole childhood. 90s are my teen
yeah,
years.
yeah. So that's basically what did it. I mean, a lot of my first influence was more of like the classic rock. Like Kiss will always be my all-time favorite band. I mean, that's what really got me to pick up the guitar. And a lot of other bands, Zeppelin. I like the new metal scene. I mean, I really like when that came through, and you heard like Korn and Limp Bizkit come out with this, and other bands too. You know, just come out with this sound, and it was like, holy shit, and it was amazing. So I listen to everything down to Spanish flamenco guitar, jazz, I pretty much like everything, but I'm kind of a little bit more limited on the countryside. Some of it kind of sucks for me. Some of it's cool, but I like listening to everything.
Yeah, similar to me. It's just similar story to me. That's how I listen. I pretty much listen to everything. It's music has always been there in my life growing up, and I started playing guitar back in '92 after really wanting to play guitar after just first sparked to me back in the 80s when I first heard Van Halen. And I'm like, wait, what? What I hear? And then for years it was that, and then ZZ Top and AC/DC, and then finally by '92 I finally got my first electric guitar for Christmas. And then as you were doing, I didn't have lessons in the beginning, so it's just like, yeah, see what making noise. And then eventually I got lessons, and then I got pedals and stuff like that, and then I'm like, whoa, this is really fun.
Yeah. I never did any lessons. The only time I guess I would consider lessons, I mean, yeah, I had a couple guys that were more experienced that showed me a couple little riffs, you know. I remember the first time, you know, you were talking about Eddie Van Halen, and I learned that hammer on pull off, and it was like, you know, when you I don't know how it was for you, but when I first learned that, man, I just felt like a guitar god, you know, like, oh my
Yeah.
God. I mean, because Eddie Van Halen, and God rest his soul. I mean, my personal opinion, he reinvented the guitar. When
Definitely,
he
yeah.
picked it up. I mean, and people follow that to this day. You know, all those tap guitar players, and a lot of those guys are just phenomenal. But I mean, that all came down to his roots.
Yeah, pretty much anytime you hear the tapping, and then even hear like even a whammy bar stuff doing that,
Yeah.
he evolved that, right? Like it was around before him, but he took it to the next level, right? Just so every time you hear someone going crazy with whammy and hammer-ons and everything, they're influenced by Eddie Van Halen.
Yeah. I mean, what guitarist? I don't care what style they are. They know who that man is.
Yep.
Whether they're a folk guitarist, a metal guitarist, whatever. I mean, that's one of those names. That's one of my favorite guitarists, you know. Of course, being biased, Ace Frehley is too. And another guy a lot of people probably don't hear of is Carlos Montoya, which was a Spanish guitar player in the 50s, and it's just amazing what he does on a little nylon string acoustic. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, guitar, all my instruments are all self-taught. That could be a little bit of a disadvantage to my playing. I don't know. Some of it I kind of like because I've came up with my own creativity and stuff. The only type of lessons I really had is like when I was in the school band, because I did sports for a little bit, but it just really wasn't my thing. And most of the people doing that, at least in school, to me, they seem like assholes. But I was in band, and it's kind of funny. I remember my exiting from the band. Well, actually, I was more exited out by the band teacher. He was the type that believed that if it wasn't classical or jazz music, that it wasn't music. And very like by the book, read the notes, you know, read the music, blah blah blah. I always tell people you could listen to music and you could play music, you could write it, but I mean, to be honest, you got to feel music. If you can't feel it, then you're not really experiencing music. But anyways, so he hated rock, and another band that I really liked back then was Black Sabbath. And this is one amongst other things, but this is what actually got me exited out of the school band. Is I played trumpet. I wanted to play bari sax. Like to this day, I want to learn how to play that. I love that instrument. But my parents couldn't afford that, so I got my dad's old trumpet. And that's what I was playing. And I started going by ear, you know, just playing by ear, kind of. That's mainly how I play. It's by ear. I listen to something, play it. So I started figuring out how to play a sweet leaf on my trumpet. You know, and I figured out the notes. And there's this other kid in the class that played the alto sax, and I said, match this note, match that note, and he started finding it. And then one of the percussionists, I kind of showed him a beat on the big bass drum and the snare, and all of a sudden we got a band playing this in the little auditorium, you know, and the band teacher walks in, and he was just like pissed. And he went directly to me, like he knew it came right from me, and he was right. I mean, he nailed it on that. Grabbed me, basically threw me out of the class, and he looked me like right in the eye like this. And he says, "You will never, ever amount to anything in music and probably nothing else in your life. Get the hell out of my class." And that's what he said. And I tried. I even crawled back. Like I don't know, about a year later or something. I wanted to play bass in the jazz band. I was shunned, man. I was bad. So to like fast forward way up, like kind of, I guess you would call it my Al Bundy moment, is when Bill was kind enough to invite me, and we played Sweden Rock Festival, which was like the biggest concert of my life. I mean, there's like over 100,000 people there. I don't know like how big our crowd was in there, but it was like that moment, you know, that when you first started playing guitar, that rock star dream, like that was happening now. And when, you know, my wife and like a couple of friends asked me, like, what was that feeling? How nervous were you getting up on the stage? And honestly, what I thought about was exactly what that band teacher told me right before I got on stage.
Yeah, I saw the pictures of it, and then like a video of it too. Like that happened right before I met Bill and everything too. Right before, pretty much right after that, they flew over there, and some of the guys came and did the Maritime tour. So, but yeah, I can only imagine playing on that Swedish Rock Festival, and right on the same bill as Kiss and everything, and just like a huge crowd. I never had that opportunity yet. So that's just like I was like, imagine just plugging into a big outdoor stage, plugging into a wall of Marshalls, and just like.
It was amazing. I mean, to share the stage was like one of my favorite bands. I mean, and there were so many like great people, other great bands, and just people out in the crowd. I mean, I think the one thing I got out of doing all this touring, and I definitely got to thank Bill for like getting me back into music. That's another story. But like, I mean, besides like playing in that, whatever you want to call it, the rock star or whatever. I mean, what's really cool about it is like all the people you meet on the way. It seems like I've made friends in every part of the states and parts of the world that I've been doing this. And I mean, they're there. I mean, I could throw them a text right now or whatever. And it's amazing, like all the great people that you meet.
Yeah, I can say the same too. Just like when I met Bill last year and everything, it was back in, not last year. Now it's 2021 now, 2019 right now rather. But it was August 2019, and right after that, Swedish Rock. And so I got to meet Bill and all the Green Jellÿ guys that were there at the time, and after that, I got to through Facebook and everything meet a lot more members for Green Jellÿ and everything, and it got me back into music as well too, and this has got me back into even collecting Green Jellÿ. Now I have like one of the bigger collections of Green Jellÿ stuff. You can see it on like my Facebook banner part of it, but it's like I just started collecting after that too, and I literally got everything I could physically get from back in the 90s and everything, because I just had like the Serial Killer and 333 CDs and the VHS of Serial Killer, but then like I need everything else now. So the year after that, I just went and collected everything, and then some of the guys sent me stuff and everything too, and it's really cool. But cool. Yeah, and then Bill added me on here and everything, and I even did some Green Jellÿ artwork and everything too, and I guess it helped influence some artwork, I guess, on the new album. I guess so Bill showed me some things, so I was like, "Hey, that's cool." So maybe my little part had something to do with the new album, my own little tiny way.
Yeah, no, that's cool. That album's gonna be really cool. I'm glad that I'm a part of that album too. And,
hey, do you have a song on the album?
Yeah, there's a song that myself and two other guys kind of co-wrote, and Bill did some stuff. One of the songs I wrote that I thought was really good, I don't know, I guess the record company didn't want it, so it was too shitty for the record company. So I might release it on my own. We'll see. But yeah, we do have a song on there. My character is on the artwork on it.
I saw the cover there, the 3D one that Bill showed. Really cool.
Yeah. So it'll definitely be really cool once we get it all released out and everything.
I think Bill said the other day, I saw in the comments, he said tentative for about June. That's what he said.
Yeah, I mean, it's like with everything going on right now, it's hard time. Really, the industry is like just getting killed with all of this right now. I mean,
I know.
God, I'm going nuts. I mean, I occupy myself because like I do so many different things, man. Like I'm all over the place. So, but I still like got that itch of getting back on stage and going out, meeting new people and traveling. So yeah. Spring back to live shows.
Yeah, definitely. It's been too long already. It's been like almost a year since everything shut down. So it's like, okay, it's enough.
Yeah, everything shut down and people are going nuts, and oh my God.
Yeah, even streaming is starting to like, okay, everyone's streaming now and everything. Even Bill's like, okay, finally, now he's setting up a studio there, doing live shows. And
yeah, I don't know when you're airing this, but for us talking here, that's what's going on tomorrow. That's going on, and then we're going to be playing a Valentine's Day show. So we'll be doing that in the studio, and that'll be fun. So I mean, if this airs before then and somebody's watching this, yeah, check it out. It'll be
the New Year's show was really fun. I remember that up there. It was a lot of fun. I was trying to call in everything too, and I'm like, I almost got in. Like it was between me and Derek Nelson, like trying to go back. Like we was like, because we were messaging as we were trying to get in. When he got in, I was like, oh, bastard. I was like, because I got through, but then there's some kind of technical difficulty on the end. So it's like my profile picture was on the big screen there, but then it didn't go through. So it's like, well.
Yeah. I know, like speaking right now, like Bill's going through and working out all the kinks in his studio. I've seen him doing a couple Facebook live tests, and so I'm looking forward to it. Bill and I aren't that far away from each other, so I mean, we're so
right there. Yeah, I've only been to California once, That was like 18 years ago. I went right down. It's all in around there and everything too. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's different when you see it all in person.
Yeah, it's a lot different now.
Yeah. So how did you first get into Meat Bill and get into Green Jellÿ?
Well, to back up a little bit, like, as I was doing the rock star thing, and I know I said I played with myself, but eventually, like, we created a band myself, and it was my singer. We're actually related by marriage. His sister is my dad's wife, so his sister's my stepmom. And we started doing some stuff because we lived together for a little bit, and then we met up with two other guys, and one night we just played and it clicked. And that band was called Through the Clear. If I'll try to send you some music of it. This is like early 2000s. I'm talking like 2001 to 2003 or 4. We're playing, and actually got pretty big. And when things were really like starting to happen and go somewhere, is we broke up, which what most bands do. And there was a lot of alcohol, a lot of drugs and stuff like that. And there was a couple times that me and the drummer definitely went head to head. And anyway, so that broke up. I joined another band and played for a little bit. And in both of these bands, I played bass. Through the Clear, I played 6-string bass and background vocals. In this other band, I was playing bass, which was Fires in Utopia. In fact, the drummer of that band plays drums for Green Jellÿ here in Hollywood. Larry. Larry's a cool guy. So maybe one day talk to him too. Amazing drummer. But anyways, there was one night we were jamming, and I don't know what it was, man. I grabbed my bass. I even left my fucking amp there. I never even came back to get it. And I don't know, man. I just didn't play anymore. I was just done. Around that time, I guess I was more involved in like the bottle, and drinking and doing other things before I got into aviation. and that was about it. But trying to go back, I don't want to string this out too long. I'll get to your question here. Is how I met Bill was a guy I had that was a friend on Facebook. I met him through an aviation Facebook because there's a aviation group in the Facebook, and I used to post some stuff because I was a part of some pretty cool projects, and that's how I became friends with this guy on Facebook. So I'm scrolling through one day, and it's amazing. Like, if Facebook's used in a positive way, it's a really good, like, great tool as far as I'm concerned. Unfortunately, it isn't being used that way as much now. But anyways, so I see him post something about Green Jellÿ on there. And I was like, wow, I remember that band. Because like I had some of the posters. I don't have it anymore, but I had the VHS and all of that. And I mean, I liked them. I mean, my God, I got kicked out of 6th grade. True story, swear to God. I got kicked out of 6th grade from my work paper on my desk. I was drawing the Shipman character. The teacher walked by and I got kicked out of class. So like, Green Jellÿ was like an influence. And I mean, it is, I know it's like this shitty band and all that, but I mean, those are some pretty they're funny, and there's some really well written songs. And so I seen this, I'm like, man, I didn't even know they were still together. And we're chatting, and he's like, I know Bill. Do you want to meet him? And I'm like, yeah, that'd be great. And so I guess he sent Bill a text and messenger about me. And I sent Bill a text, and I didn't hear anything from him. And I don't know, probably about a week gone by. And I'm actually, when I seen his text coming, maybe I'll get too detailed here, but I'm actually in my plane, and I'm flying my plane. And my phone's like, I have it on the clip here on the side of my panel of my plane, and I see it going on, and I'm like, shit. And so my wife was in the plane. I had her text for me, because texting and driving's bad, but you don't want to text and fly.
Yeah, definitely
so,
not.
So I told her, I'm like, well, hey, just take a picture outside and send it to him. And she did, and he's basically pleased to meet you. And I landed, and I started texting him, and for I don't know, about a week or so, it was like just talking about like airplane stuff and all of that. Because Bill's kind of infatuated with stuff like that, airplanes, UFOs, and so we were talking, and so one day I just texted him. I'm like, I need to thank you because your band was part of another one of my influences as I was playing when I was younger. And he's like, oh, you play, what instrument do you play? And I told him, well, I used to play. I said, I used to play, guitar, bass, drums, a little bit of piano, trumpet, hand percussion, all the different little instruments I dabble with. And then, I don't know, about 2 weeks later from that, there was this show down here in Pomona, California that he was playing. And I was like wanting to go to it just to watch it. And I get a text from him, and he's like, hey, I need a bass player. And he's all, why don't you come play with us? And I was like, well, shit. I'm texting him like, Bill, I haven't played in like over 12 years. I said, I don't even have a bass amp. My bass is like covered in freaking webs and crap all over. I said, I haven't played in a while, man. I said, it'd be really cool, but I just don't. And he texts me, he texts me this list. There's like 12 songs. Like, here's 12 songs. Learn these songs. I'll see you tomorrow night. We'll run your bass direct through the PA system. So that was late at night, and I had to work the following day. So I stood up that night, and I played the Green Jellÿ songs off of YouTube, and I figured out how to play the songs. And I told my wife, I'm like, look, I'm going to kind of come back out of retirement. I said, what better way to finish off playing on the stage than do it with one of my favorite bands, Green Jellÿ. I said, I'm going to play this one show and just go out with a bang with that. And so I went up there, and I played. I learned the songs. My fingers, you build up calluses as a musician, were like bleeding in every. I mean, I was all beat up. I haven't played in so long, but I learned all the songs. I learned them correctly, and went out there and played. And I just got that feeling. But the difference of being on the stage doing that compared to how I used to be was like in my past, like through the clear and all that, I would, always be up there like loaded, like drunk. I always like had a big cup of beer and a glass of whiskey next to my amp when I played. And like now, like I've been sober like 7 years. I don't mess with anything. And which has changed my life. So when I went up there and played like that, it was just a completely different perspective being on the stage and playing like that. And this playing, I'm only doing it one time, turned into, I kind of like this. I want to do it some more. And he started inviting me to play this show and that. And I got into it. And then eventually there was the birth of Captain Ray, the character.
Yeah, with the green duct tape.
Yeah, well, actually, first it didn't even start out with a green duct tape suit.
No?
So, no. So basically, how that happened is Bill sends me a text. There's only certain people playing the show or whatever. I don't know the whole deal. But he invited me to go to Las Vegas and play with another really cool band, or group, I should say, that I really, really like. And I dig this group. I dig the other groups that play with them, and I especially dig their fans, the Juggalos. And he offered if I want to play with ICP. Like, wow, man, another band that I used to, a group I listened to. And, I mean, much love to all the Juggalos and ICP and all of them. So that was like, this was what I thought was going to be the biggest show I ever played. And so I'm texting Bill, and I'm like, this is kind of a big deal, and just in my regular street clothes, and this is Green Jellÿ. It's, if this is more like a serious band, serious, deep lyrics, something, yeah, the regular clothes things work. But, people are taking shots off your balls and, duct tape puppets and flinging shit all over the stage, it just, the plain clothes thing didn't blend. So as I was texting Bill, at first I was telling him, like, I don't know, man, maybe like a bird character or something, because I kind of wanted to combine it with the other part of my life, which is aviation. And I mentioned the bird thing, and he's like, he texts back, he's like, why not a pilot captain? You could be Captain Ray. And I'm like, yeah, that's not a bad idea. And that kind of blends. It blends what I do. And so I started out with like this silk pilot suit costume suit. And I actually, the first show I played that, I had it, the pants rigged up so I can rip off the pants like stripper pants. And I started doing that. And it was cool. And that was an amazing show. I mean, amazing band, amazing show, great time, great crew. I mean, the Juggalos would probably have to be my most favorite people I played in front of. And so I don't know, from there, like I wanted to take it a step further. And there's duct tape puppet heads and stuff like that. So I literally made a suit out of green duct tape.
It's a good look on stage too, because it's like it stands out too. So wherever you are with the bright green duct tape too, you can like, oh, there's Captain Ray right there. You can see right exactly where you are, especially like in a big stage like the Sweden Rock, right? You stand right out there, right there.
Yeah, you stand out, and I mean it's cool, and it definitely fits the funny side character of me, because everybody has a funny and a serious half and all that. So it made perfect sense. It looks great. It stands out. It is fucking awful to wear. I actually put a thermometer probe in it, and I can't really convert off the top of my head to Celsius, because I know you're from Canada, but in Fahrenheit it read 132 degrees inside the jacket.
Wow.
I don't know. I think that's like around 40 or 50 degrees Celsius for you guys, something like that.
Yeah, I can't even do the conversion in my head.
Hold me to that. It's extremely hot. In fact, I remember one time we played a show, like when you're on stage, you're not feeling it. The adrenaline's going, having fun, you're interacting with the crowd, you're standing on chairs, you're doing, stupid shit. But I remember this one show we played the Whiskey, and I'm getting off the stage, man, and like I was seeing stars. I felt I was getting nauseous. Like, it's like I need water. Like I almost literally passed out. And that's kind of where I started trimming it and lightening it. So now I got a lot more cooler. There's vents. I usually stick like ice in my balls and around my legs and all that before I get on the stage. So it's a little bit better than how it originally was.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a great combo of, like you said, you being a pilot and everything too. It makes perfect sense, right? And it's unique to you. So
Yeah.
It's cool when, I guess, there's a lot of great characters in the Green Jellÿ band, and the students. It's nice when there's some unique ones out there and everything too, and everyone brings in some of their own personal traits into it and their character and everything, and it stands out, and you end up on the new album cover.
Yeah. So again, everybody has a little alter ego or something to them, and it's cool to go out there and express that and have that opportunity to do it. And so from like playing Green Jellÿ and doing that, it just kind of re-inspired me in life, is like in general, just everything. And I mean, as far as I'm concerned, and the way I believe is like you only live on life on Earth once. At least that's what I believe. So it's like, go out and do everything that you can do. You're only living once. Live every day like it's your last day. And I try to do that every day. So I mean, to me, that's important. And like I say, drive yourself like you stole it. And I guess a big part of that is playing with Green Jellÿ. It's like, wow, played in front of this many people. I finally got out of this little box area, Inland Empire, Hollywood area, and like, holy shit, now I'm in wherever, Denmark, Sweden, New York, Pennsylvania, wherever. And it's like, I like this. And I just pushed it in other things, from like flying my plane and doing that. I always wanted to be a race car driver. So screw it. I'm doing that now too. So I guess the biggest difficulty in life is trying to take all this stuff that I'm into and doing and trying to like balance it. So I guess that's a good problem to have. And
I get
just try to be comfortable.
Yeah, I get it too. It's like I got re-inspired with Green Jellÿ and everything. And I'm starting to work on my own music and everything. I got back into playing and everything too. And doing learning piano, and I got a bass and the guitars and everything, and learning how to sing. And so that's in the early stages of that. So I got back into that, and I'm trying to do like stuff with my illustration and working on a kid's book and a comic book series. And so I'm trying to balance all that and work all that into too. But as I said, meeting Bill and the Green Jellÿ and everything, it re-inspired me to get all back into doing that stuff too.
That's awesome. And now you got your own little podcast going here. I mean, yeah.
Another thing, I was like, I was like wanted to be like a radio host or something, and just try to do that. I'm like, you know what, I should just start a podcast and just learn on the fly, basically. And that's what I'm doing. Trying to learn on the fly, try to improve.
And you're doing it, and there's people that talk about it or say they're gonna do it, but I mean, if you really want something and you want it that bad, go out there and fucking do it. Don't make excuses. Just do it. Just do it. There's so much to life, even in these hard times right now, that like there's so much that you could do, or you could sit and be bitter and pissed off and tell the world on your phone about it. I mean, I don't want to live that way.
Yeah, that's what I try to be. Just try to be positive and everything too. Even like on the podcast and everything, I'm like, there's no serious, dark, deep topics or anything. I try to make it fun and just all positive stuff. Just keep positive and everything. Like so much negativity in the world, just like shove that aside and just focus on the positive. Because
Yeah, and there's so much to do out there, but people are so focused or wanting to fight with each other back and forth.
Exactly. Now, I want to ask you, how did you first get into aviation and flying and everything? That's something I was been interested in. When I was in grade 6, I did a whole big project on it. I wanted to be a Air Force fighter pilot. I did this whole thing about how I'm going to get in the military and everything and just fly fighter jets. Of course, that never happened.
Yeah.
Even glasses, and I didn't have the eyes for it. So, and astigmatism and everything. So I couldn't even get corrective eye surgery. So I'm like, okay, well, I've always been fascinated with it.
Yeah, airplanes like always fascinated me. I'm a gearhead, like cars, motorcycles, airplanes. I mean, if it has wheels, doesn't have wheels or not, I mean, I'll drive it. That's how I am. But honestly, whether it's turning a wrench, whatever. But I mean, of course, you're a kid and you watch a Top Gun movie. That's just like, badass. That's like, oh. And then a friend of my dad's, this guy, in fact, I still keep in touch with him. His name was Ron. He had this Cessna 150 airplane. And I think, I don't know, I was about maybe like 8 or 9 somewhere. Maybe, no, I want to think I was 10. I was pretty young. And he took me up for a ride in that little Cessna 150 airplane. And like, I literally felt on top of the world, which I pretty much was in a way. And it was just an amazing thing. And that always, like, I did the music and all that, but that was always like subconsciously back there. And so at the time, like when I was working and how I made a living was in construction and mainly as being a tile setter. And we had a major housing market crash here in the United States for people putting money in their pocket in a way that they shouldn't, and it hurt all of us Americans. So the work I did, from tiling 3 houses a day to 1 custom house a month, went to maybe 1 or 2 houses every 2 months. So I couldn't make a living like that. And I really didn't enjoy doing it. It was great money, but I just didn't like it. And it sucks. You're laying down a piece of tile, you're picking up another one, and you're just going along. I mean, there's skill involved. There is skill involved. Not like anybody could do it, but it wasn't for me. And I've always, like I said, I've always been a big fan of things that go fast. And that puts airplanes in that group. And that little part in the back of my head started coming out. I'm like, well, and at that time, I surpassed, doing the college and all the stuff that other people do, but, why not an airplane mechanic? I seen this commercial for this college, and they wanted like $40,000 or something for me to go to their program. Like, oh, I can't do that. And I find out that there's a program in a local community college where you become a certified and licensed aircraft mechanic. So I did that. Was able to do that without having a crazy student debt. And as I'm doing the program there to get my certifications, I get a job to get into the field early, and I was able to get one without being licensed, which was really cool. But as I'm doing this, I'm like, if I'm working on these, I got to know how to fly them. And the bug kind of hit me about flying, and I actually made a deal with one of my professors at the college that was teaching me in his class that I would do some tile work in a couple of houses he had if he would teach me to fly, because he had a couple of airplanes. So we made a trade-off. And so I started learning how to fly. And I mean, I loved it. There was a moment there where I stopped. I ran out of money. My money was, I was a big investor at like the local 7-Elevens and liquor stores at one time. So, Budweiser, Jack Daniels, I made lots of investments in those places. So that kind of interrupted my flying for a little bit. But eventually, when I got rid of putting all that shit in my body, and I got back into flying, and I got my license. I remember my check ride. It's wild. I mean, there's a lot of studying to be a mechanic, and there's a lot to be a pilot. And probably out of all of it, the most stressful time was doing my check ride with an examiner in the airplane. But I got my license. I started flying. I was flying so much that renting an airplane was getting really expensive. I found a really good deal on an airplane, and I was able to buy it. And it's an amazing freedom, man. I mean, I'm not going to lie. I can go out of state and drive my car 4.5, 5 hours, or I could hop in my little 4-seater airplane and get there in an hour and have a beautiful sight. And I don't know how you Canadians drive out there, but I feel so much safer up in the air in my airplane than driving with all these assholes out here on the freeway in the traffic, man, because it's wild. I actually, people are scared of planes and shit, and like for me, like I feel so much safer up there.
And also, people in Nova Scotia here will realize too, and there's no potholes in the air. There's potholes the size of the Grand Canyon around here sometimes, especially after the winter.
I don't know, man. I think us and over here in SoCal probably have you beat, but that would be a good lineup. And I do definitely want to go out to Nova Scotia and Canada, and I want to explore that area. And then, if I'm out there and I still remember it, I'm going to compare potholes just to see. But I think California has it the worst. Or maybe New York. New York and California are kind of like in competition for that.
Yeah. There's definitely a lot more cars on the road there, too, in those places. Like Nova Scotia is a peninsula. If you ever see it on a map, it's a peninsula. It sticks out in the ocean. Like, no matter where you are in Nova Scotia, you're less than an hour's drive from the open ocean.
Yeah,
the open Atlantic
Ocean.
Ocean.
Doing the outdoor stuff out there. That's another little hobby of mine too, is doing outdoor stuff.
Oh, like it's less. It's a small area. It's only like about the same amount of coastline as like the UK. So there's only about 1 million people here. But there's still a lot of wilderness, especially up north in Cape Breton. That's the spot to visit when you're in Nova Scotia, especially up the Highlands and everything. It's just like I was up there in October again. It's a place in my heart, really, in my mom's heart. We love going up there. It's just up in the Highlands, but great place for camping and whale watching, everything like that. But
I am gonna make my way up that way eventually. Like that's absolutely for sure. That and like Alaska are the two that are really on my list to do. It kind of all depends how things like open up. I'm hoping like in March that maybe I can go back out to Europe just for a little vacation for a couple of weeks. But with all this stuff going on, we'll just have to see how it goes.
Yeah. Now, one thing was, as a pilot, I know Bill probably asked you this too. Have you ever seen UFOs when you were flying? Anything strange in the sky?
Not when I'm flying, but on the ground I have seen some interesting things. Now, whether it's aliens or some experimental top secret aircraft, I have seen some weird stuff. I've seen maneuvers of something, whatever it is, flying in the air. I sure shit know, with my knowledge in aviation, that airplane couldn't do that. And a human body making a maneuver like that couldn't handle that. So
exactly, be squished. Like some of the right turns, you've seen some of these things do on radar and everything. Like, person would be squished.
Your body would just like that. I mean, dude, I've been in some aerobatic planes and done some really crazy aerobatics, and you're hitting like 6 or 7 G's, and you picture that's 6 or 7 times what you weigh against your body. You actually like have to like that, crunch, and keep the blood rushing out of your brain and you pass it. So aerobatics are cool. They're so cool that if you ever go to an amusement park, that like any roller coaster you get on, you're gonna like be this guy. Like this is it's not the same, man. If you actually do like some real airplane aerobatics, and I've got an opportunity to fly some like really cool planes that like at least in my position now I couldn't afford. But
Yeah.
yeah.
So if you want to try something like I don't know, like it's a different world, I guess, like when you fly jets and everything too. I can mention, like, have you ever flown like a jet?
Me personally, no. Like physically, what I could say though is recently I did some training for a particular airline. I won't mention who they are, just out of professional courtesy.
Yeah.
But they let me go in their Airbus simulator, and they let me fly it. And there were some other mechanics in there, and like they were just crashing and burning the plane. And I went in there and I sat, you know, and like I know the hydraulics, I know even the throttles, you know, and it's basically, and the way I just looked at it, it's another fucking airplane. I mean, it has wings, it has engine, it has thrust, it has lift, it has drag, it has a gear that goes down. I mean, it's the same thing. Just, you know, I don't have a little propeller in front like my plane or the other ones I flew. And like I took off, I flew it around, I brought it back, I was landing it, and like the guy that was running the simulator in there, he's like Jesus, because he said it's not like your Microsoft on your computer. I mean, these simulators are like, God, they're like $50 million. They're the real deal. And I'm coming in doing, you know, I do my first landing. He's like, oh, that's beginner's luck. And I put the throttle back in the plane. He's like, you don't got enough runway to take off. And I pull the plane off. I gave myself a little extra flaps, and I brought it back up, brought it back around, landed it again. Was it still beginner's luck? And he's like, man. And I did a few more times after that. So this is like the real deal, even though I'm not actually burning fuel flying the plane. I mean, these simulators are like dead nuts. The pilots actually do their training at an airline pilot. And he was like telling me, he's like, you land this thing smoother than a lot of our actual pilots do. So I thought about taking the approach of being like the real captain, but I don't think I would enjoy flying as much if I was doing it as a job. And that's why I opted not to do that.
Yeah. It sounds scary. I remember like my, like some of those big jumbo jets and everything. I was like, wow, it's just like, imagine just flying those, like, you know, just a responsibility too. And just like that big machine, right? And it's a jet and it's going so fast, right? And it's like, just I can just imagine, you know, I'm working with the aircraft carrier, or like air traffic controllers and everything too. It's just like, you know, I have mad respect for pilots, and
it's a different language. Like when you're talking to the controllers, it's almost like just somebody that's bilingual or something knows another language. It's not a big deal. How fast you talk to them is exactly how you're going to talk back. If you talk really slow, they talk really slow back. If you're talking really fast like that, they're going to give it right back to you. But as far as those big jets, I mean, honestly, and I'm not degrading any of the pilots that fly them because they're well-trained individuals. I mean, they're basically there if shit hits the fan, if something goes wrong. For the most part, like those planes, they literally land themselves. Because he kept asking me, you want to do auto land? I'm like, hell no, I want to fly this damn thing. You know, this is a freaking 300,000-pound jet. I want all the controls. I don't want any autopilot. But I mean, no auto land. I mean, they'll literally, when those planes come in for landing, most of the time, not all, because sometimes they'll manually land it, but most of the time, the first officer will drop the gear and drop the flaps, and the airplane will land, and it'll break itself on the runway. But as far as controlling one compared to like a smaller plane, it's like you're going really fast, and it's sluggish. So if you're making, I don't know if that comes to the screen, but if you're making an input like this and going back, it's going to take a minute for it to do that. So if you're doing this and you're trying to give it more because it hasn't done it yet, then all of a sudden it's going to roll over. So it's very fast, slow controls. My airplane is faster controls, and compared to that, it's a little slow. So
I remember last time I was on, when I was actually going to California, I was like, it was my first time on a plane since I was like maybe like a toddler, so I don't remember it. I used to fly back and forth across Canada with my parents, when we were moving and stuff, like 7 times before I was 5. But I have not really a lot of memory of it. But when I was flying down to California, I had my first of 3 flights. I was getting on the jet, and then of course the pilot's there. I was greeting you, like, how you doing, greeting passengers as they come on. And I said to him, I was like, yeah, it's my first time flying. He's like, mine too. It was perfect. Mine too.
That's precious. That's precious.
Yeah. Never forget that. It's the way he looked.
Yeah. There was like this one episode, I got a big kick out of it. I don't even know who it was or whatever, but they like staged it up. I don't know, this could have been staged, but I mean, these 2 guys dressed up in pilot uniforms. One is a captain, the other is a first officer. And they're just sitting at a bar, just getting plowed, man, just completely shit. And they're like leaning over and bumping on these people that are just looking at them. They're like tripping out, like, what the hell are these guys doing? Their pilots are getting shit-faced in the airport floor. And the pilot's over. He's like, hey, what flight are you on? And they're like, we're on flight, I don't know what they said, 22, 23. No, oh, that's our flight too. Yeah, we'll be taking you over to fly. And these people are just like the scared shitless look on their face. But me personally, like, I won't scare people. When they get in my plane, I try to make them because I love giving airplane rides. I really do. It's something, because of that feeling I got when I talked about earlier about being like 8 or 9 years old, that feel, I like giving people that feeling and giving them that ride, because when you have it, it'll like stick with you the rest of your life. I don't know if you've been in a small plane, but like people that fly on like a big airliner, it's kind of like you're on the Greyhound bus. And then like when you get in a little plane, like something that I fly or other planes that I fly, it's like hopping in your buddy's Mustang or his sports car, and you're getting in that versus the Greyhound bus. And it's just a more personal experience to have. So
in the smaller planes too, I find it would be probably you get much a better view too, right? You're not as high, so you're not just like mostly seeing clouds. A lot of the way you can actually see some of the nice terrain and enjoy it, really.
Particularly like my favorite, like I'll give people rides and be like, you want to see more city stuff or do you want to see more nature stuff? Me personally, like I like flying in the mountains. And you need to be careful. Fortunately, this one guy, and like, God bless his soul, man. This guy right now, he is like 82 years old. I shit you not, 82 years old, still flies his plane, probably still the best stick and rudder guy at our airport, rides a motorcycle. I mean, like another inspiration to me. Like this guy is living life at 82 years old. But anyways, he taught me a lot of mountain flying, because it gets a little different when you're flying in the mountains with updrafts and downdrafts, and you're like right next to terrain. You can look over, maybe even see a deer or something. So that's like the flying I like to do. I like going out in the mountain, like the bush pilot stuff like that. That's what I really dig doing. So, but like some people, they'll be into the mountain things, and some people like to, go look over the city or look over lakes and water. Like my wife, it's funny. Like she used to swear she never get in a plane, and fast forward now, she loves it, and she loves going over the mountains and flying. And like, God forbid I go and fly over the ocean or next to it, just even on the coastline, and she just like freaks out for some reason. And I'll like try to explain to her, like, babe, if I had an emergency or whatever and I had to land the plane really quick, I'd rather be out here by the ocean where I can land on the shoreline of the beach. That happens to you out in the mountains, your options are really, really limited, and you're basically having to land that plane on side of the mountain. So if there was something to be worried about, which there's nothing to be worried about the mountains, but yeah. So luckily I had a lot of good people that showed me how to fly, and yeah, that's another amongst many things that I do. Another one of my hobbies. So
yeah, one of the craziest things, like I remember when I was flying into San Diego, my flight from Denver to San Diego, and it was half dozing after we flew over the Grand Canyon, and we were like, yeah, look at the window, you can see the Grand Canyon, and that was cool. And then I went to sleep a little bit. I remember waking up and just looking out the window there, and we're flying into San Diego, and I swear to God, we're flying between skyscrapers coming into the airport there in San Diego. I was like, what? I'm on the wrong plane. Like where are we flying through buildings? Like, I guess this is how they come into the airport. I guess it's one route. I guess some of the higher. It just seemed like we were between buildings there, just in the distance. There, it's like whoa. But
Yeah.
coming in low, that was freaky.
Yeah. No, that plane that you're on, it was probably landing itself. I mean, they literally control it from a panel right there. You can adjust with little knobs how the plane turns, banks, how it climbs, all of that.
Well, yeah, who knows? Like the technology out there too, especially as we were talking about like UFOs and stuff. Like some of the stuff out there definitely is probably military high grade. And there are probably no pilots in them, right? And so some of the stuff, who knows what they have in the high military and some of the black ops stuff, right? They're just flying themselves, some of these drones and everything, right? So who knows what they got out there?
They have all that, technology from drones to even just regular civilian people flying. I mean, to be honest, I'll be completely honest about that. I hate those damn things. I don't know. I think they need to have a pilot in it. I'm sure anybody that flies the airplane has the same point of view that I have.
Yeah, it's definitely a better experience if you have a pilot and you're actually flying it instead of just a robot.
Yeah. So,
and you also end up
UFOs and stuff. I mean, yeah, I'm not going to rule out that there's nothing else out there, that we're not the only people on the face of the universe.
Oh, definitely. It's just too massive. And speaking of Nova Scotia here too, we had a big UFO crash here in 1967. It's like a world renowned. It's up there with like Roswell in New Mexico, because something came down in 1967, just went right into the water, witnessed by hundreds of people. And then like fishermen went out and tried to find it, and they just had this. It was like a orangey glow on the water, and they just found this like orangey foam that it was foam that you couldn't even scoop it up with a net or anything. It's just like it was something. Divers went down and tried to find something. Everything, they couldn't find anything for days, but they tracked something on radar going up the coast nearby a Canada U.S. base there, and it stopped kind of. And then I guess there was some military guys that were assigned to look out for like Russian subs at the time.
Yeah. And
like they were told, no, there's something over here. Okay, avert, go over here. And I guess they witnessed something. They can't even describe it. It's not of this earth. Like another craft assisting another craft, and they saw some kind of beings outside doing something. Yeah. And after this was done, they watched this for hours. And then after it was done, they both went right up into the sky, out of the water. And so like whatever that was. But it seems connected to the whatever crash. They couldn't find anything. It's one of these big mysteries around here. So who knows whether that was military or something from wherever.
Yeah, there's a lot of mysteries, and there's a lot. There a gentleman of John Lear, who that name rings a bell. If you think of the Learjet, John Lear, he had this one quote he said that I really liked, that stuck with me. And he said, "You don't even know what you don't know." I mean, so there's endless possibilities. We don't know everything. Of course,
I've been told
it's being kept with us. Maybe it is. So who knows?
Yeah, I've been told even by some people like that work for the military, it's like, yeah, can't talk about it, but yeah, there's some stuff going on. It's right out of science fiction, and I can't say anything.
Yeah,
but yeah, you'd be surprised what they have.
Yeah. I mean, shit, you even look at old movies to some of this stuff that was supposed to be science fiction back then, and now, like, it's reality. So, I mean, who knows? I don't know. If I spend all my time and energy thinking about that shit, I'd probably drive myself crazy. I'm more of a kind of thinking the now.
Yeah, it's more just casual thinking about, hey, that's cool, and yeah.
So, sometimes I'll start, thinking ahead about whatever, and that's why, like, as much as it drives me crazy about bills sometimes, like, it'll just drive me nuts, like, okay, what's the plan for this? What plan? And a lot of times, like, I try to plan shit, but, like, I kind of like his way of thinking, because, like, what plan? Whatever's going to happen is going to happen. And, it seems to work out. So as much as it drives me crazy, he does that shit. Like, I like it at the same time.
Now you said you're also getting into you're a gearhead, and you're starting to do a race car, driving a race car.
Yeah. So last year I ended up buying a Mustang, and
nice.
I wasn't looking for a Mustang. It was just there, and it kind of reminded me of my grandmother. That's another story, and she's not here anymore. And so I picked it up, and I've been like modifying it and doing this and doing that to it, make it go a little faster, make it grip a little bit better, make the suspension work a little better. And the most important thing of it all is learn how to drive it better, because you know every guy knows how to drive. Every guy knows how to drive, and they can drive good. But I got involved with this local club. I actually race with like SCCA, Sports Car Club of America, and there's a local like Cal Club autocross. And you know, like my first day out there with the car, like you know, I was just gonna dominate it out there. Realize like there's people who've been doing this shit a lot longer than me, and got my ass handed to me out there. But I liked it, you know, and started doing like some driving coaching and stuff. And so once a month, I go out there with my car and do a autocross, which is I call it like poor man's road racing. You're like doing road racing track, and you navigate through traffic cones, and they design a road course, and it's just an amazing way to improve your skill as a driver. Because I mean, I grew up like I learned how to drive at 8 years old. I was driving a stick shift at 10 years old. Like, and I thought, you know, I was a shit. I knew how to drive. I did all the street racing. That's another thing in the past. I used street race, but I went out there and it's like, wow, there's a lot to learn. So I've been doing that and having like some amazing people kind of mentor me with that, kind of like learning to fly an airplane, but it's on a car and driving it at its absolute limit on a track in a safe environment. So it beats like doing when I was younger, doing all in, you know, with my other cars that I would, you know, soup up and do different stuff with on the street. You know, out there, you don't have to worry about them red, white, and blue lights taking away your freedom. So, it's like another passion, man. Just like building it my car and going out there and racing. Just another one of those dreams. You know, I always wanted to race cars, and so go out and do it. Why not just go do it? And
It's
so
awesome.
that's
I
what I'm
remember
doing.
it was about 91. I think it was 91. I got me and my dad got tickets off my uncle to what's called around here in the main city of Nova Scotia, Halifax. Back in the day, they had what was called the Moosehead Grand Prix, which is named after
Uh-huh.
Moosehead, which is like one of the more famous beers here. So it was Moosehead Grand Prix, which they were the main sponsor. But it wasn't on a racetrack. They had Indy cars, they had like NASCARs, they had drag racing, they had like every kind of race car you could think of. But instead of racetracks, they just shut down like half the city for this day, and they were racing in the streets. They set up barricades along like the streets, so like because I remember seeing one car just crash and the turn just missed the turn and totaled the car, and it was like on a city street. But they had barricades and fences there to protect against like wreckage and stuff. But I'm like, it just was fascinating to see all these like even Indy cars just going full tilt down city streets like in these races, and you can go around and tour the grounds, and you can see all the cars, you know, like open up the engine and see the Indy cars, and they had it all on display, you know, so it was like a big festival back then. It was sad they don't have it
Yeah.
anymore, because I remember being fascinated as a kid.
Yeah, they do like the Long Beach Grand Prix here in California, and that's really cool. And they basically do the same thing and sanction off streets, but like, I mean, it all blends in, like doing it because I like to go fast. That's what got me in aviation. I like machines that go fast, and just you know, whether it all combines, and I guess it's what gives me my sanity. Is between like being on a stage, playing Green Jellÿ, some of my personal music I'm working on. Hopefully, I'll release some more. We started to release, and then coronavirus hit. But I mean, the music, and then being in the plane, racing a car, outdoors. I like to sport shoot and hunt and stuff like that. And travel. Like I love traveling. I love traveling. So it's kind of hard right now because there's so many places I want to go, but it just can't happen with everything going on. But you can sit there and pout about it, or you can find something else positive to do. And so that's how I try to live the life, man.
Yeah,
There's always something positive to do on this road.
Oh yeah, it's just like you just got to go out and do it. That's what I've been learning since I started doing all this and everything too. You know, because it's like, as you were saying, I did the same thing too. I was like, in in my 20s and 30s, there was more into like, stuff was going on. I was more into drinking and stuff like that. And I put the guitar down for a while too, and everything. And then the last couple of years, it's been finding everything. I'm like, you know what? I'm in my early 40s now. I'm like, I'm just gonna start doing shit. Get it all
Yeah,
done.
I mean, yeah, like I remember like when I first turned 30 and like I was dreading it. My 20s have gone, and to be honest, like in my early 30s, I did the same shit I did in my 20s, which was pretty much almost drink myself to death. And so that was like a dread. I'm getting old, but I mean, I honestly, man, I'm I'm in my late 30s now, and like, don't get me wrong, I had good times in my 20s. I had good times even doing the partying and the, other things I won't speak of in public. But I mean, to not be putting all that shit in my body like I used to, drinking, smoking, and the other stuff. We'll just say that. Like, life now is 100 times better without all that. I mean, for all the stuff I do, I wouldn't have time to do what I used to do. And I mean, yeah, it rubs off. I mean, a good part of that, I think, was like just playing in Green Jellÿ. It just kind of inspired me to go off and do all this other stuff. Like, I've accomplished this dream. Why not go accomplish the other ones?
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I'm going to do. I'm going to do it till I'm dead and burned in a little jar, and I'm going to keep going at it. And
Yeah, I'm just getting started in that too. I just literally just gave up drinking just late last year. It's like, that's just enough, and I don't even need it to have a good time. It's like, what? Like, no. I mean, I didn't even have my first drink until I was like 22. I'm like, I never even had a desire for it, even through my teenage years, playing guitar and everything. Like, no. So after your 20s and 30s, it's like, you know what? It's not good for your health. So it's like, you just like, I don't need it really. So it's like, you know what?
yeah, in my case, might have been different than some other people. In the case I have others shared in common with me. If I would have kept doing it, I would have. Number one, first and paramount. There's no way in hell I would have been playing Green Jellÿ, and there's a good chance I'd probably be dead by now. It's like when I drank, like I drank, dude. I really did, and I don't miss it whatsoever. I'm not tempted by it no more. And I mean, that was a lot of help and effort from some people, particularly one guy I'll name. His name is Walter. He's like another father to me. But it just gave me a different outlook on life. And there's so much, like, life is so beautiful. It's just how you treat it. What you put into it, whatever you put into something is what you're going to get. You put half-ass into something and you're pissy about it, well, you're going to get that in return. So it's like, what do you want out of it? What are you willing to do to get it? And so, yeah, that dreaded, and I'm worried about turning 30. Well, shit, man. And like, now what's going on? My 20s, I won't even look back at that shit. Like, I mean, that was still like being a little kid.
Yeah.
So I can't complain, man. Life is beautiful. It's what you make it. And yeah, there's hardships that go along with it. But I mean, to me, I take that, even in my past, a bag of shit I called my life at one time as like an asset and knowledge to it. Because if it wasn't for that bag of shit back then, like I would never be where I'm at today. So, I mean, there's always a good way of looking at something. Even if it's something bad that occurs in your life, there's always a positive outcome from it.
Exactly. You have to go through that, and it makes you can learn from it, right? It's awesome. You have to look at it as a learning experience, right? And just
You
move
can
on
learn
from
from
there.
it. And the other cool thing about it is maybe down the road you'll run into some guy that's going through that same shit that you went through before, and you're able to help him out.
Exactly. As I said, like with me stopping drinking and everything too, like yourself, and I have some other guys that did it as well, like they've been a year or 7 years and 10 years and stuff. So every time, like, I just message them and ask them, anytime you feel like the urge or something, you had a bad day or a bad week or something, you're like, it's just like, like, no, don't go down that road. And so,
well, if you feel like that, like, oh, I need a beer or something like that, then from the get-go, there's already something before you did that isn't right.
Yeah. Well, you just got to change your thinking, just like when I was in high school, and like, playing in the bands and everything like that. And of course, there was, even as a teenager, there's alcohol everywhere, right? And, and I didn't even have an interest in it back then. So, like, I just remind myself, you didn't need it back then at all. You had a good time. And even now, like, okay, like you need a distraction, do something like take out my art and do it or something, or even take out the guitar and just like, okay, just play guitar for a while, and then like you just get lost in that. And
yeah, you don't meet too many musicians that haven't drank or partake in other things. Very rare if you meet. I've met a couple that haven't, but it's very rare.
yeah, same as that in marijuana, which is all legal
Yeah.
up here coast to coast in Canada. So
Yeah,
it's
it's legal here in California. It's not federally legal. I mean, I'll personally say, like, I won't smoke it. Have I? Yes, of course. More than enough for a lifetime. Me, I don't smoke it. Number one, it doesn't interest me anymore. Number two, with me working in aviation, it's not
yeah.
allowed. But to be honest, I'm completely for it. I think they should just legalize it nationally. I mean,
Oh yeah, it's good. Like I use it. I use it sometimes. Like but I use a lot of time. I use like CBD oil, sometimes THC oil. But it's fine. It's like even with like I'm 42 now and I have many different accidents and stuff. And so it's good for like arthritis and even different joints, stuff like that and everything. It's just like I find it's just like at the end of the day, sometimes take a little bit of the oil, you know, and just, you don't have to. Because I don't really like smoking it because I grew up with asthma, so like I don't like screwing with my lungs, basically. Because I don't want to. I just don't like the burning in there. So I was like, take a little bit of CBD oil or something, and you can relax, and it's fine. It's done wonders for like just my joints and everything, you know. And so I can see the benefits there. And now my mom's starting to use it too. You know, she's 66, and she's finding it. It helps her too with all that too. So it's definitely benefits from that, you know. So.
Yeah, there's a lot of great benefits. It's just something that's not for me. A guy like me that has that is just somebody that would abuse it. So that's me. That's not everybody else. So that's one little uncontrollable little child about me. So, and to be honest, personally, I don't need it. Like I said, I got way too much stuff going on. I found I tapped into like life, and there's so much other stuff where I don't need that. Not that I look down on anybody use it. Like I said, I'm 100% for that being legal. If you could go down and buy, you know, a bottle of Lafroig or Jack Daniels, those are two of my particular drinks right there. You could buy that. And I mean, for somebody smoking a little bit of weed, I don't see a big deal with that. So, I mean, there's a lot more things out there that are going to harm you over that. As long as you're not getting behind the wheel or doing some stupid shit like that. I don't know.
Well, you got a different way of getting high now, so. With the plane.
Yeah. Yeah, you know,
literally getting high.
When people usually have me like sign, you know, autograph, whatever, Captain Ray, I always put fly high, you know, and you know, that I've got the perception, you know, they're like, oh, you want to smoke? No, I don't do that, you know. Or the other one I'll get is like, you're not a real pilot. Like a couple drunk people I've gotten a couple times, and I kind of laugh. Most of the time, I don't even say anything, you know. But it's like, yeah, well, actually, I am. But most of the time, I let it go because I got that a couple times. You know, you always have the drunk people at the shows. It's either you're not a real pilot, or I got like, are you a real pilot? And I'm like, well, actually, yeah, I am. Bullshit. Okay. So I just don't choose to do it as a career. I don't think I'd enjoy it as much if I did. I could if I wanted to. I could fly commercially up to the age of 65, but I don't think I would enjoy it as much.
No, probably get tiresome. I guess you know. I guess a lot of people do that. A lot of people, when they do like some of the most amazing things, like here for a living, they're just like, yeah, it's my job, and they do it, you know, so many times. They're like, I guess you know, they're just like, yeah, it's. Loses the thrill after a while, I guess, if it's nonstop, you know.
Yeah, so like when I get my plane, it's kind of like, what adventure am I going to encounter now? I mean, usually I have a plan of where I'm going and all of that, because you do have to plan when you fly. But you know, it's just like it's an adventure each time. So if I was sitting there doing that for a job, flying a bus full of people to their destination and flying to another one and overnighting at a hotel just to hop back in the plane, I'm not saying it'd be miserable. I mean, the job actually pays really well. Once you earn your stripes, but it's just I don't think it's for me. I'd rather take some of that time and put it into something else. You know, I got little bits of time into everything. Sometimes I drive myself crazy with it because I got so much going on. Maybe that's a little bit of the ADD that I have, but I mean, there's so many things I like dabbling in. It's just like playing instruments, man. Yeah, I play guitar, but I like playing bass. But I like playing drums too, and I play other instruments. So I dabble in everything, man. Why not?
Yeah, I can see that. You have more freedom too when you're a private plane too. It's like, I can just go over here and like, whereas like if you're on a thing, you're on a set course, right? Where like no, it's like I want to go over here. I want to, just you explore
like,
a bit.
Yeah, particularly like where it was really cool was not where I work now. I mean, once in a while I still fly to work, but my previous job where I worked, I flew like anywhere from 3 to 4, even 5 times a week to work and back in my plane, because I could sit and go through all the idiot drivers. I mean, because I don't know where you're at, but we have some really stupid ass drivers in Southern California.
Oh, we have them here too. Definitely.
And so you could go through that, and I could drive through the Cajon. This is my old job. Drive through the Cajon Pass, going up to Victorville, and be in traffic. Or this accident happens, you're staying there, and deal with the over hour to an hour and a half drive. Or I could hop in my plane, spend maybe a little bit more in gas, and fly over the beautiful San Bernardino Mountains, over Big Bear and Lake Arrowhead, and have that gorgeous view, and get to work in like 15 minutes. Then hop in the plane, and when you're going back and you see all them red taillights all going down the freeway and you're just flying over them, I'm not trying to sound like an asshole here, but you kind of look down and laugh at them like little peasants or something as you're flying over at 130, 140 miles an hour through the mountains. So yeah.
Yeah, can't go wrong with that. It's flying to work.
I mean, you're actually literally looking down on people.
It's like in the
honestly, like my old job, that's how I commuted to work. I would literally fly, I would land, talk to the tower, I'd land, I'd taxi right up to where my office was at, get out of my plane, and go right there in my office. I didn't even need the parking lot. I just parked the plane right next to the hangar. And still, once in a while, I do that to where I work at now, but it's just I live so close to where I work, it's kind of pointless to do that. So
yeah,
once in a while I still like flying in there. So
yeah, that'd be pretty cool. Just avert all the traffic. Especially LA. Yeah, they have a lot of traffic in LA.
Well, yeah,
we're driving there. I'm like, whoa, the wide freeways and everything, like 9 lanes and stuff. Like,
and drivers get really crazy out there. And to be honest, if you drive in LA, you need to be a crazy driver to drive out there, because that's how everybody drives. If you're a modest driver in LA, you're screwed. I mean, you're screwed.
Yeah, I never want to drive there.
You have to drive like an asshole out there. That's what I've learned. You have to drive like an asshole. If that light is turning yellow, you better stomp it to the floor. Just fucking go. Blast through that light. If you're not, you have the guy back, you honking the horn. It's just, it's crazy. So, yeah, LA is, I take doses of LA. Personally, I couldn't live directly in the heart of LA. It's cool to go out there, but yeah, it's,
Yeah, I get you. I'm more of a country person, even though I live in a city, but it's like I love getting out in the country. That's where I grew up, more in countrysides, in small towns, like towns with like even like 100 people, just like one street. And you had to drive an hour to go see a movie or go shopping or anything, there's just small shops. And like I wish I could just get at it.
Yeah, being outdoors. Yeah, being outdoors like that, it's just like a experience, to me, it's almost like a spiritual type experience, just being out away. It's quiet. One of the things, like, and Bill says this a lot, it's not about the 1 hour show. It's like the 20-hour journey with your friends. And when we were on our second tour in Sweden, like this place that we oh God, like we literally went from one end of Sweden to the other end of Sweden, the places we were playing at. We were at this church that was built in, I believe it was like in the 1200s. Very, very old church. And out there, you don't have like a bunch of degenerate assholes that are going to vandalize shit. So, like, everything is unlocked and open. There's no security guards. There's none of that. And you just walk into the church. And I mean, we spent some time there, and it was just, and it's out in the open area. I mean, it's so green out there in Sweden. I mean, it's beautiful. Like if I had another country to move to, that would be one of them. Besides, I don't particularly like their gun laws there. You can't really have guns, and I like to collect those. It was just so peaceful. We were all there, and it was one of our stops we made. We made all these stops, and I mean, the old books, like everything's untouched. Nobody's it's very friendly culture out there, and we experienced that. There was a forest out there. I mean, there's just some like really like I found something out in that piece of land. I don't know what it was, but it was like I found a certain amount of peace in my life when I was out there. And I don't think I was the only one. There was a group of us out there, and I'm sure the ones that were out there could kind of relate to that. So
yeah, it's definitely where I definitely want to go traveling through Europe. Event that's one of my goals in life, to get there sooner than later. Especially Scotland be the first stop, just because Nova Scotia here, that's new. We're New Scotland, but that's where my pretty much like starting with my great grandparents. We're from on both sides of my family. Pretty much they're from Scotland, so it's like I definitely want to go visiting around there, and then go into the Sweden areas and Norway.
it's
and all that
amazing.
stuff.
Sweden, Denmark, there. I mean, they're just, and I met some really great people that I still stay in contact with out there. I mean, great music out there, great bands out there, great people. I mean, and believe it or not, like in Sweden, like weed and marijuana is highly illegal.
Yeah.
But the way the culture and the way the people are, I mean, they really don't need it. Just everybody is so relaxed and laid back out there. I've never, honestly, when I went out there, I never seen anything like it in my life. I envied it. Just the culture and how the people were. I mean, I guess I'm speaking for America here. I wish we would adopt some of those types of cultures.
Yeah, you'd like it. Yeah, anytime you tour here, next time like Green Jellÿ comes through here or something, you should come down to the Maritimes here too, because like, especially here in Nova Scotia and even more north up in Cape Breton and even Newfoundland too, you'll meet salt of the earth people, just real down to earth, laid back people around here, just like good old Maritimers. And yeah, it's pretty much the friendliest part of Canada.
And life's better that way, man. So
yeah.
I don't know. I guess there's that bone in our human body that gets that. I mean, Jesus, just open up your Facebook feed. Like it's pretty, So yeah, but yeah, if you do travel, great place to go. Actually, home country where a lot of my family is at, in Spain. That's another really cool place to go. So I have a lot of family that live out there. Great family, awesome people. Really looking forward to going back once some things are lifted. But yeah, that's another really cool place to go. But they do have asshole drivers in Spain. I ain't gonna lie. The drivers are better in Sweden and Denmark versus Spain. Yeah, I was a straight road warrior there, man. But I was ready. Like I come from Southern California, so like I was a road warrior out there. I was good driving in Spain. No worries. But like you go to a country like Sweden or Denmark, they're like, you go ahead. You go ahead. And the one thing I love out there, I mean, I swear to God, I love this. I wish, I don't know how it is in Canada, but out here in the United States, the far left lane seems to work out to be the slow lane, even though it shouldn't be. That's the passing lane. But like in Europe, if a car's coming faster, you move out of the way. They end up flashing their lights. It's like a bad thing if you don't let a car pass you out there. And I love that. I don't know. I like it. I like to drive out there better. Spain, that part of Europe, they drive like assholes. That's okay. I could put that mentality in, but no, it's all beautiful. Like Europe's beautiful, man. I really look forward to going back out there. I look forward to doing some Green Jellÿ tours out there when we start doing that. So
yeah, you never know sometime. Eventually, hopefully, if in time when I get a chance, then hopefully I'll play with Green Jellÿ sometime too. Phil said, "Hey, let's do it," but so I'm just waiting for opportunity to do it eventually once everything gets going again, and especially when they come back through here. Like when I saw them there, like in August 2019, I wasn't aware that I could even play with them. I was like, what? I didn't even know that was a possibility. So I was like, okay, I would have brought my gear, but
yeah, Bill's usually really cool about that because he likes people to know the songs, and the other band members like everybody to know the songs too. So
I learned them all in grade 8. So even everyone says Green Jellÿ sucks, but I mean, it's like, of course, that's almost like a tongue-in-cheek thing too. I mean, because you look at Serial Killer, that album still holds up today. It's a well-produced album. It sounds great.
Oh, yeah.
That's nothing sucks about it. It's a great piece of art.
Yeah,
And,
it was.
and the new one's probably going to be even better. So, from what I've heard already, little clips and
There's
stuff and
some
stuff.
really, yeah,
It's
there's
like,
some amazing, yeah, there's some amazing stuff on that album, man. It's gonna be really good. But yeah, I mean, yeah, Green Jellÿ sucks, but you know, it doesn't, and it's like particularly my favorite song to play and to listen to is Carnage. I love that song, Carnage Rules. That's favorite. That's our flagship song to play here in SoCal too, man.
and so you
I
can
love
always,
that.
when the band plays that song too, you can always see the energy go up a little bit.
Oh yeah,
It's just like,
and
well,
our drummer
okay, like,
Larry, and our drummer Larry, and some people get irritated about it, but I like it. Like, so he likes to keep that song fast. So we probably played a couple beats faster than it's actually recorded. But man, it's a fun song to play. I love that song. I love
one of my favorites to play sometimes was just like Rock and Roll Pumpkin.
Yeah.
It's just so simple though, but it's like it's so simple, and you can annoy someone with that song really too, especially like, you know, the screaming on it. Like, it's just basically simple. You know, there's Rock and Roll Pumpkin, say it again. You know, it's just, but it's so fun. It's just a fun. So I loved it. Just fun.
Yeah. Yeah, whoever thought you could write, produce, and just take 3 chords repetitive over and over with the same lyrics over and over, and it sounds kind of cool.
There's a lot of successful bands have done that.
Yeah, that's what a lot of successful hit songs are, just a dead, simple.
You look at one of my favorite bands, AC/DC.
Yeah, great example.
17 albums now, but what they've done, people say, oh, they've done the same album 15 times. I remember Angus Young saying, no, we've done the same album 17 times. But they stuck to their basic formula, right? And it works for them. And they're one of the biggest bands in history. But they, you know, they just stuck what the fans want and just kept it going for almost 50 years now. So
yeah, and it sold. And I mean, it's that their style is kind of like their own style. How many bands? Yes, there's so many different rock bands and all, but how many have that like authentic AC/DC sound? They have their own like type of sound. That, at least that's how I look at them, you know, like AC/DC. Another particular band like Primus, who the hell has that sound? Nobody. I mean,
unique.
you know, there's so yeah, AC/DC is very simple, just down roots, like rock and roll. I love it. I mean, who doesn't like cranking up an AC/DC song when you're driving in your car? I mean, that's just
even their new album they just came out with, you know, right last November. It's probably their best album in 40 years since Back in Black. And it was like, just blew all the fans away. It's like, what, really? It's like, they just came back and just killed it. Like, especially they're like, you know, all in their late 60s, early 70s now, and it's just like they still have it, you know. But I'm like, but they've never alienated their fans. They've never like, okay, we're going to change our sound now and do this. And they just stuck to what works and what the fans want and just kept going.
I don't really necessarily crucify bands for wanting to change style and sound. Like with my project I have, and it'll be going back again. I'm just not sure the approach I'm going to take with it, but released one song, and that's Fed by Famine, and that's kind of like my more serious music. And in that case, like, there's all sorts of different styles that I want to go through and play. I mean, the one thing that I released on YouTube with one of our singles was kind of like a new metal vibe to it. But some of the other stuff I've written is completely different from that, you know. And it's kind of like let me talk more about a band that people actually know, like Metallica. They got kind of crucified for that.
Yeah, I remember that in the mid '90s.
And I mean, like, when they came out with like that Load album and all that, like, a lot of people hated it, but I thought it was great. I mean, what's wrong with not always going 1,000 miles an hour, or if you're a slow band, going 1,000 miles, or trying, you know, playing. Like I said, man, I dabble in everything. If I had to listen to one style of music and that was it, or like my band teacher, only jazz and classical, that's it. I mean, god damn, that sounds boring. I mean,
no, I completely. I completely understand that too. Like, I'm trying to put together like my own stuff. I'm just like dabbling with writing my own stuff, and you know, I'm also working on some covers and everything. But just basically putting some demos together. Like I already have my band
Mhm.
name and everything. It's called the Mechanical Ruins.
Okay.
And so that's what I'm aiming for. But it was like I'm still trying. Like it was aimed at like, okay, I'm gonna make this like metal industrial type band, because I was learning my synthesizer I got there. So I went to make some cool synth sounds on it and everything. I'm like, okay, this would be cool industrial. And that's a good industrial name, but I'm into all kinds of music, right? So it's like, okay, I got to eventually find the sound for that band, and try to, but it'll be not just one style, it'll probably be anything from like alternative up to some industrial metal, but just in the early stages of that anyways. And I'm just going to find it where it really find my groove, I guess, but there'll be a little bit of
Yeah.
everything, a little bit of all kinds of different styles in there, I think.
Yeah, I mean, and to me, style is style. I mean, once again, like I say, music isn't heard, played, or written; it's felt. And I mean, so I write and play all sorts of different styles, down to acoustic, down to some metal, jazzy, funky, whatever. I mean, I like it all.
That's just whatever hits your ear, whatever.
Certain particular country I don't care for, and that poppy, solo singer pop BS. I'm not really into that. Some of those singers are great musicians. I mean, like, a lot of times I can't really stand Lady Gaga music, but she's an amazing musician. She knows how to play a piano very well. And, but that little genre of music she did, I just, that particularly wasn't my cup of tea. But I mean,
Yeah.
But yeah, so I pretty much listen to everything.
Yeah, no, I do too, and I pretty much go towards the classical stuff and everything too. So, especially the way the stuff was recorded back then.
Yeah.
Without computers and everything being enhancing everything, they're actually just in a room recording, and that's why people say, "Why these old bands sound so good live? They sound just like the album." Like, because the album was actually just them playing, nothing fancy added in or anything.
Yeah. If you want to hear a really good guitar stuff, it's like 1950s. Look up Carlos Montoya.
All right.
I think your internet's cutting out, buddy.
Yeah, it's coming up on mine. It says, Captain Ducktape Ray's network bandwidth is low. So, anyways, we had a great chat here already, so I probably have to let you go. Yeah, it's getting later.
Yeah, it was a great chat, man. And thanks a lot for having me on. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely was a great chat.
I'm finally glad to be able to do this. I know we've been talking about it.
Yeah, we'll definitely do it again sometime too, down the road too. And yeah, especially when the new album comes out and stuff. Yeah, sorry to keep you a little longer than we planned. It's aiming for an hour, but I guess when you have a great conversation, it happens sometimes. So
yeah, no, conversations are good, man, especially from other sides of the world. So
exactly.
Yeah, thanks a lot for having me on.
Yeah, no problem. Definitely, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. It's been great.
All right, Ryan. Well, you have a wonderful night.
You as well.
Till next time.
Yeah, and this should be up in a couple of days here. I'll be sending you the links and stuff there so you can watch it, and it'll be on Spotify and everything like that too, so people can listen to it. So I'll send you the links once you get it updated. Probably get it edited and posted probably tomorrow. So
sounds good, man. Let me know.
All right. You have a great great rest great rest of the night there, and then all the best.
All right, man. You take care.
You too.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.